Hi there. Have you ever wished your baby would sleep this peacefully for hours and hours without midnight waking? Today, I want to share our family's experience with sleep training. My little one is now 2, and we've gone through several rounds of sleep training since she was about 9 months old. I've learned that sleep training isn't a one and done solution. It's an ongoing process with ups, downs, and plenty of surprises along the way. In this video, I'll walk you through several points. What is sleep training? Why sleep training works, but isn't a permanent fix? The real life phases we went through, including what actually worked. Why sleep regression is normal and isn't a failure. How to find your own path that prioritizes everyone's well being. Before we dive in, remember this: sleep training can be incredibly helpful, but it's not a universal solution. The best approach is whatever works for your family. What is sleep training? Before answering this question, let's step aside for a moment and learn about sleep cycles. Babies usually develop mature sleep cycles in their third or fourth month. Like adults, they go through sleep cycles throughout the night. For babies, their cycles are shorter, about 45 minutes. Ours about 90 minutes. At the end of each cycle, they briefly wake or come close to waking before entering the next cycle. A baby who's able to self-soothe usually doesn't cry and continues to the next sleep cycle without a fuss. However, newborns don't naturally know how to fall asleep independently. They rely on us for soothing, whether that's rocking, holding, patting, or objects like pacifiers. And they associate these comforts with sleep very easily. The challenge arises when these sleep associations becomes necessary for your child to fall asleep. When they wake at night between sleep cycles, which is normal and will happen, they may need that same assistance to fall back asleep. If they can't get it, they cry. And so both baby and parents become sleep deprived. That's when sleep training comes in. Sleep training helps children develop self-soothing skills so they can fall asleep independently and return to sleep when they naturally wake at night. It works by breaking sleep associations. Many parents, including us, turn to it as a last hope to regain some sanity. So here's our real-life sleep journey. From day one, all the advice we got was to put the baby down awake and let her learn to self-soothe. This didn't go well for us, especially in the first month. She would start crying the moment we laid her down or at the slightest noise. I remember feeling completely overwhelmed during this time. So here is her sleep pattern. The purple is for nighttime sleep, and the blue is for daytime naps. You can see these purple ones are all broken segments, and these open windows are waking and crying. Some windows actually are quite long, 3 hours, 2 hours, that's very common for the first month. One night, out of desperation, my husband gave her an extra ounce of formula. She drank it quickly and cried again. Another ounce, then another. That's when we realized our baby wasn't being difficult. She was just hungry. She had a bigger appetite than the averages in the pediatrician's handbook. Once we made sure she had enough to eat, she didn't even need rocking. She would just lie in her crib, stare at the ceiling, and drift off to sleep. So we survived phase 1 by discovering something useful. And now here comes phase 2. So for about 2 months after solving the feeding issue, our baby slept reasonably well. But when she turned 3 months old, things changed. She suddenly started waking up precisely at the 45-minute mark of her naps. Remember, this was the length of the sleep cycle for babies. You can see this on her sleep pattern at 3 months old. She will nap for about 2 hours or even longer, but then she suddenly had these tiny little blocks like these 3 on a single day. Those are exactly 45 minutes long. I started giving her a pacifier to help her back to sleep. This worked, but also failed easily, since she obviously couldn't pick up the pacifier if it fell out. Every night, I had to replace her pacifier several times. It's annoying, but it wasn't very terrible, just a few minutes of interruption each time. Here's her new sleep pattern. You can see the pacifier helps a lot, her naps were longer, and also her nighttime sleep was improved. That went well for about 2 months. And her 6-month checkup, the doctor told us babies her age should be able to sleep through the night without interruption, and she suggested sleep training. But we had learned to take textbook advice with a grain of salt by then. And this time, our baby developed separation anxiety and wanted to cling to us constantly. The pacifier wasn't enough anymore. She wanted to be held by one of us. Our sleep quality plummeted as she became smarter each day. She would literally grab our hands and wrap them around herself. While it was amazing to see her cognitive development, it was also incredibly frustrating to have such interrupted sleep. Here's her nighttime sleep. You can see these big open windows. Those are the nighttime waking. Each one was about 2 to 3 hours long. Imagine doing this every night. I actually developed depression during this time, which led us to our next phase. When she was 9 months old, we decided to try formal sleep training. I read Dr. Ferber's book, Solve Your Child's Sleep Problems. It was very helpful in explaining sleep patterns and the training process. We use the Ferber method. It's essentially leaving the baby to sleep on her own and checking in with increasing time intervals. It took us about 5 days to see success. The nights then became peaceful and cry-free. You can see here is our results. See this continuous block of good nights? Those were the nights we begged for so long, like many parents who wished we'd died sooner. We enjoyed about a month of good sleep, and then the crying started again. Those are formally called sleep regressions. These ones, and these ones, and also these ones. You can always find some bad nights after a few good ones. It turns out that good sleep habits can break easily. Maybe it's teasing, illness, developmental leap, or just wanting extra cuddle time. The key insight was that sleep training isn't a one-time solution. Sleep regressions happen regularly for different reasons. We ended up redoing the Ferber training multiple times. It didn't take as long as the first time, but it became emotionally harder and she learned to call mama and dada. Still, there are changes on the way. When she was 16 months old, we moved to a new home with minimum furniture. We ended up co-sleeping on a king-size floor mattress for about 3 months until our main bedroom was ready. And also, she started daycare around the same time. We faced two challenges: getting her to move from the giant floor mat to a smaller toddler bed, and getting her to sleep without us in the room. Moving her to her own bed was relatively straightforward. We were consistent about the new sleeping arrangement and sat by her bed until she adjusted. But then came the self-soothing training again, and we found that Ferber didn't work anymore. Our check-ins made her more upset, so we switched to the cry it out method. The first night she cried about 30 minutes at bedtime and an hour at midnight. The second night was better, about 20. The third night, only 5 minutes. But then she got sick. It's not a surprise at all since she was in daycare. We never got back to training. She got one illness after another and consistently needed comfort at night. Here's our current routine. She falls asleep in her own bedroom with one of us sitting nearby. She wakes around midnight and we bring her to our bed where she sleeps between us until morning. It's not perfect. Sometimes she wakes up and spends an hour talking to herself or crying about something we can't figure out. She's not the independent sleeper I imagine, but our current approach works for us. Our pediatrician frowns when she hears our daughter doesn't sleep through the night in her own bed, but that doesn't matter to us. We understand our child has a lot happening developmentally, new words and skills every day, plus frequent illness from daycare exposure. Our current approach ensures she feels secure and gets the care she needs while still giving us adequate evening time and manageable sleep interruptions. Here's some parent-to-parent wisdom after reviewing our journey. First, sleep training does work. It teaches baby to self-soothe, but it's not a permanent fix. Second, sleep regressions are normal, and they happen frequently. They can easily disrupt good sleep habits for various developmental, health, or environmental reasons. Every family is different, and every baby is unique. Some parents sleep train early, some later, some not at all. The right approach is whatever suits your family's lifestyle and well-being. Be flexible and adjust as needed. What works in 6 months may not work in 12 months. What works for one child may not work for another. It's okay to try different approaches until you find what works. The goal isn't perfect sleep. It's finding a sustainable routine that allows everyone in the family to get enough rest. Sometimes that means compromising the ideal for what actually works in real life. Has your family tried sleep training? What's your experience? Share in the comments below. Thank you for staying with me. I'll see you next time.